The What's Eating You podcast is a series of mental health topics that are designed to make you think, learn, educate, and validate. Enjoy the show. Isobel Hall is a 23-year-old content creator in her final year of Bachelor in Exercise Science. She's been a PT for over 4 years, and she's passionate about empowering women through education and knowledge. Please welcome Isobel to the show. We are so excited to have you, Izzy. Welcome to the What's Eating You podcast.
Thanks, Steph. So excited to be here.
I'm excited. Let's go back. We met in Bali. So Izzy and I were both at the National Women's Fitness Academy. And when I met you and then when I saw your social media, I thought, wow, I think you can look at someone's social media and think what their personality is like or assume things about them. But when I met you, you were actually this really sweet, not quiet, but I guess you were just this really sweet, kind girl. Do you often get that where people judge you from social media?
Yeah, I think definitely it's part of it that people are kind of maybe more standoffish to you, or they have a certain assumption about you before meeting. So that's why I don't necessarily brand myself as an influencer or content creator that often, because I kind of just want to be taken as face value a lot of the time. So yeah, I guess maybe that's why I don't introduce myself as that as much, but because it does often play a bit of a part of how people perceive you initially. But yeah.
Because you didn't tell me. I remember one of the other girls mentioning that you had a social media page, and I had a look and I was like, whoa, her page is awesome. Tell us a little, and I'm very fascinated about social media. I think it's incredible, and also, with mental health and all of that. So tell us a little bit about you, who you are and your story, because you're really 23. That is very young, by the way, and you've done so many amazing things. So tell us how it all started.
Yeah. So basically it all started about 4 years ago when I sort of first started my fitness journey. And I just was very unmotivated at the time. I wasn't doing any sport or physical activity, and mentally wasn't in the best place. And I just wanted to change that, and I wanted to propel myself forward somehow. And I guess gym and training was that sort of way for me to come back to that side of myself that I hadn't been in touch with for a while. So essentially I started in the gym and then really threw myself into all aspects of it, and kind of just became extremely passionate about it, in the sense that I learned as much as I could by myself. And then I realized, okay, I want to learn more. I want to educate myself further. So that's when I started doing I actually changed my degree. I was doing criminology and creative writing. And did that for 6 months, and then realized, I need to follow my passion. So I went and did exercise science and nutrition science and started that. And at the same time, I also started my PT qualification because I wanted practical hands-on experience within the industry, and I wanted to start working in the industry as soon as I could. Yeah. And then as I went along my journey with personal training, online coaching, and studying, I guess I've just immersed myself as much as I can in the whole experience. And I started my social media page when I first started training to sort of keep me accountable initially.
4 years ago?
Yeah, 4 years ago. So I was at the time, I had a really bad chronic injury that was quite debilitating, mentally, because no one can really see it or understand a chronic injury.
What was the injury?
I actually, when I was 14, I came off a mountain bike and dislocated my elbow and had to have it popped back in and then surgery on the tendons and ligaments.
Ouch.
But no one ever checked my shoulder. And so I actually was in a bionic kind of cast for a long time. And because I had so much muscle wastage and everything, I think something happened to my shoulder during the fall, and also that. And I just had it's called snapping scapula, and it's just dysfunction of the scapular joint. So
my God.
Yeah, it took ages to even get diagnosed with that, and then nothing was working. So I just thought, I'm going to try and rehab it myself, because I was getting so frustrated about not being able to feel strong, especially with my upper body. Like I just felt so weak and I was like, I can't live like this. I'm young. I want to be able
Yeah,
so yeah,
sure.
that's kind of why I started. And I remember my first post on social media was kind of like that. I was like, I've created this page to, keep myself accountable and recover from a chronic injury. And kind of, I want to share my journey with all of you. And that's where it started, really.
So it started as an accountability. It's so funny.
Yeah.
We want to be accountable on social media, and it does work. And putting this journey up, I think, is really, really great. But snapping scapula, what a name. My God, it sounds awful. You wanted to, and it's so frustrating. So many people get frustrated with doctors or medical professionals who can't figure out what is wrong. So you wanted to go on this journey, fix your snap scap, get it back, get strong in the gym. And this was 4 years ago where you also was this why you wanted to go on a fitness journey, or did you ever struggle with your body weight or your body image or anything like that? Or is that just my era?
Yeah, no, I definitely, so growing up, I was very sporty and I was lucky in the sense of I never sort of had a bad relationship with food growing up. I always kind of just ate as I wanted, and it was always fuel for my performance in sport, and that's how I looked at it. So in that sense, being a part of sport was really good for me. And I know some people don't have that experience with sports like gymnastics and stuff like that. It can be very detrimental and have the opposite effects. But I played a lot of tennis and soccer, and I loved eating. It's always been something I love doing. But so I probably played all throughout high school. And then when I was 18 in year 12, I stopped playing competitive sport and I kept eating the same way that I was eating. And it just became I gained quite a bit of weight, and I was 10 kilos heavier than my kind of healthy weight, I guess, or the weight that my body was when I was active and kind of doing sport regularly. And I'd also just at that time come out was in a relationship, out of relationship, and then it all ended, and I had a very low self-confidence at that point. And that coupled with just eating and not being active, and then also having that kind of bad mental place was all a combination of what sort of drove me as well. So it was also the injury, because that affected me in sport, and I felt sorry for myself for so long that I can't play at a high level as much anymore or whatever. And then when I stopped it completely, it got worse, and it was just so painful. And I just kind of got into this victim mentality of all these things are happening to me.
It's hard.
Yeah. And I just got so sick of it. I was just this is so the opposite of who I was when I was, passionately engaging in sport, and I'm a motivated person. I'm a passionate person. So when I wasn't acting in accordance to that, it really got to me. So it took a while. It didn't just happen overnight, but
It's such a valid point. I think we can all recognize when we're not living in line with our values, or when our beliefs are not in congruence with who we want to be. But most people will ignore that or avoid that, or just be like, oh, it's too hard, all that. And then look, I'm all for having a bit of a victim mentality or empathizing and validating yourself. That's super important. But you can't stay there, because life really sucks, and no one is going to help you. No one's going to pull you out. No one's going to fix your shoulder. No one's going to say, hey, go to the gym. No one's going to tell you to do it. So I think at your age, to make that decision, and also I want to point out, eating like a competitive athlete when you're not a competitive athlete anymore does have a huge impact, because you can start to put on weight. I've had a lot of friends, even myself, I used to have a fitness studio. I used to teach 6 hours a day. It was crazy, and I didn't eat properly back then, but it does have an impact when you're not as active, and then you had no relationship with food that was bad. It can suddenly change, and you're like, what? I've never been this person to gain weight, and it can be really confronting.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty confronting, and I guess growing up, I was always told that I ate a lot just from like being around friends and stuff, like not in a bad way, but they were always like, whoa, like you have a huge appetite, like you can really like eat a lot. And for me, that was always just like something I'd laugh about and be like, oh yeah, like I love eating carbs. Like that was my favorite thing, like pasta, anything to do with pasta is what I ate growing up. And anyway, so when I, had that switch in like, I guess my activity, my eating habits were exactly the same. And so then I was like, what am I doing? Like, it wasn't.
But were you hungry? Were you hungry?
Yeah, I think I was at the time, but then I think also coupled with like everything I was going through, it also might have become a bit of a coping mechanism, like to some extent, where it was like, this brings me enjoyment. I love food. So like, that's what I'm going to lean on now, during this time. And so what really helped me like actually kind of move on from that was, again, like learning about nutrition and learning about like how to best fuel myself for this new goal that I was sort of focusing on. Because I guess even when I was playing sport, I didn't really know about the compositions of food. And I think that's a good thing. Yes. I think growing up, like that's not really something that you need to, I think like a hyper focus on those things can be really damaging from a young age. So I'm glad.
Macro counting and calorie counting. Yeah.
I'm glad that I never had that as something that I ever considered doing, because when I see like now, I mean, there's a lot of younger people who do it from a young age, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I think like having that hyper focus on food from such a young age can lead to long-term effects that are quite hard to
100%. Yes, I'm the same. I think macro counting can be a very useful tool because it can teach people that they are severely under eating carbohydrates, protein. It shows them how much they should be eating for their needs and their goals. But the issue with it doesn't necessarily encourage intuitive eating, because you're eating based on numbers, and there are going to be days you're more hungry and days where you don't feel like that food. So I think it can also unlearn intuitive eating when you're full, stopping when you're hungry, because that's not the goal when you're essentially macro counting or calorie counting. So I agree it has a purpose, but I think it also needs to have a season. It can't be your way of life. If you go out and eat and you are so full and you feel sick and you're like, oh my God, I just didn't know when to stop, I think that's really problematic as well.
Definitely. As you said, seasonal use of it, I think, is the best way. Like if you are trying to reach a particular goal, and it's also a great tool to like actually learn about nutrition, like learning about the composition of foods, as you said, and how to best, like I know when I started tracking, when I first started my fitness journey, I was like, whoa, like I didn't know any of this about food. And it was a really empowering tool for me then. But as you said, I think like, again, on my fitness journey, I've had seasons where I use tracking and seasons where I don't. And it's been the greatest thing ever, because, you don't have an attachment or a relationship with tracking that's detrimental. You sort of use it to your advantage when you need it, and then you can just put it away when you don't need it.
Let it go. Now, you've been a PT for 4 years.
Yeah.
What do you reckon the biggest problem people have is when they're trying to get in the gym or get fit? Like, is everyone just wanting weight loss, or has there been a shift in the types of clients you see?
Yeah. So initially I started as a personal trainer working in a commercial gym setting and working with a lot of general population clients, so less of a niche, I suppose. And when working with them, a lot of it was weight loss, and a lot of it was in maybe slightly older general populations, a lot of that was definitely weight loss. I don't think I ever saw anyone above the age of like 35 who wanted to build muscle, maybe males, but not women. It was all weight loss goals, really. So that kind of like made me realize, wow, we've got a lot of guiding to do as PTs to really help educate people about gaining muscle, and not just for a physical outcome, but for reducing chronic disease risk, improving quality of life, and, maintaining longevity, I guess.
100%. Mental health.
Yeah, mental health, all those things. And then younger guys, they wanted to gain muscle. That was primarily the goal. And then when I started working in the online space, I had only female clients, and a lot of them were younger females, between 20 and 30. And they wanted, there was a great range between weight loss and muscle gain, or it was more like, I want to do this first and then move into gaining muscle. They had that long-term vision. And it was
Why did you move to online?
Well, COVID, basically.
Wow.
Yeah. And also I just felt like my first commercial gym experience working as a PT wasn't the best. Like, I didn't enjoy the management. I didn't really enjoy it's a very male dominated industry, sorry. And
you would have been so young. You didn't, what, 19?
I was 19, yeah.
Imagine being a PT at 19 and being in this gym with all these, like, I don't know, potential meatheads or, people who are like, you'd feel so intimidated as a 19-year-old girl.
Yeah, I think it taught me a lot about like communication and communicating with people, and working with clients was like, I knew that I was passionate about that. But I think when you're choosing a job, people don't often think about the organization that they're joining or the workforce or the work team that they're going into. That's more important, I think, to a degree, because you can lose your passion in a job if the management or the atmosphere of the workplace isn't like kind of aligning with your values. So I learned that from my first job.
100%, the culture.
Yeah, exactly. So I turned to online because I wanted to have control over, how I wanted to train people and who I wanted to attract as clients. And that was a really great experience for me because I got to work with young women, and that was amazing. And then fast forward to now, I'm working again as a PT still in a gym, but a totally different gym, and it's amazing. It's a council-run gym, so it's run.
Oh, I love that.
Totally different, and the emphasis isn't on sales or anything like that. And I think anyone who's in the fitness industry, I think that's why a lot of PTs are going to online coaching, because commercial gyms aren't really congruent of growth or opportunities for PTs that they can see online. So that's why I feel quite lucky that I've got this job that, I can do a little bit of both, and
variety is key. And you can do your social media as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so excited to talk to you about. So if you haven't checked out Izzy.Fitness, her Instagram page is incredible. She's got 147,000 followers, and you said 300,000 on TikTok, and you post lots of gym content. You post selfies by the pool, and you look so confident in all of these images and photos. How did you get started?
Yeah. So I guess with the social media again, so I started my page, and I really tried to focus on following pages that were in the fitness industry or other fitness pages, because I truly believe that if you surround yourself by whatever you're inspired by or things that you want to become, eventually that's what you start to attract or kind of, put out there, because that's what you want to kind of put out yourself. So I just focused on building a fitness community of like-minded individuals. I just wanted it to be separate from everyone I knew at the time. I just wanted it to be my thing. I wanted it to be with, I just was doing it for me, basically. Yeah. And initially I would just post content that I thought would help other people, what I was learning along my kind of course and training. And then, from there, I started using it as more of business opportunities as well, teaching myself how I can market myself to businesses and how I can work with them. That was a really powerful learning sort of moment for me as well. I think that's been great, a great part of social media. I mean, I've got to work with a lot of different brands and have that actual experience with them. And then
how did that start? How did you approach brands, or did you, because I know 4 years ago it was very different. I mean, even I started Insta in 2015 and it was very different back then. How did you start? Were brands approaching you, or did you approach brands, and how do you negotiate all that type of
All
stuff.
that. Yeah, no. So it was quite different back then. There wasn't like, it wasn't really like influencers. There was like a few, but it wasn't like a thing that people did. Like, anyways. But yeah, essentially I approached whoever I thought maybe I could like work with. And I think I had like maybe 2,000 followers back at this time.
Yeah.
And I would just reach out to whoever I could. I've never been like afraid of reaching out. Like the worst they can say is no. And I've been told no way more times than I've been told yes on this social media journey. But I think that's so important when I talk to people about, like, they ask me about my social media, and there seems to be like this fear of rejection that people have.
Yes. Oh my God.
I know. And you can't have that. Like, people are going to say no. They're not going to necessarily see your value at that point. Like, it's not personal. It's just, it is what it is. So I just kept reaching out, kept putting myself out there, and little by little, you know, I started to be able to market myself better, work with bigger brands, sort of receive more sort of stuff that was aligned with fitness. I think my first thing I ever got sent was like a fitness tracker, like a diary. And I was so excited at the time. I was like, oh my God, I got sent this.
I mean, you say yes to everything. When I first started on Insta, when my page was a food page back in the day, people would want to send you tea. And I was like, oh my God, yes. You say yes to everything because it's so new and exciting.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was really fun. I loved it. I loved being able to like see what I was putting out there, like benefit others, but also like sort of prove to myself, oh wow, you can actually, you know, work with these brands. Like, you can actually, it just opened a whole new world of like possibilities where I was like, wow, like this can help me become more self-sufficient. Like, I can actually sort of do something positive with this for myself and others. So that was really, really cool. And then, yeah, I guess for a while, my page kind of like, it grew, but not drastically. Like, I was sitting at like, you know, 10 to 20K, and I was working with a lot of brands comfortably then. You don't need, obviously, the followers to have those brand deals. I would say I worked with as many brands back then as I do now. So it hasn't changed anything in that aspect for me since sort of, I guess, my page growing a bit more. But yeah, it was honestly kind of a snowball effect. Like, yes, I've had my page for 4 years, and people just see the number and they think, oh, you've just like grown overnight. Like,
you've made it.
Yeah. But like, as much as maybe one post can just get lucky and blow you up a little bit, like, I just think to myself, no, that's 4 years of consistent effort, 4 years of learning what I want to put out there, how I want to portray like my content, what I want to align myself with. Yeah. So it was really also a journey of just like self-discovery, getting to know myself better, what I wanted, and at the same time just opened some doors for me that I didn't think were possible. Yeah.
What has been your most, like, what made you go viral? What are your most viral videos, and why do you think that's the case?
On Instagram, I honestly think it was just pure luck. I think it was the Explore page, and one of my posts, it was a few posts, and they were just static pictures. And they just
photos still do well on Instagram.
Well, at the time, at the time, that's kind of what was allowing me to actually get the growth. So I think I must just have gone on like the Explore page or something, and then that's how I got exposure that way from Instagram. And then, it was just a few posts over about a month that did really well, and that's where I got the majority of my. What
do you think it was? What do you think it was about that particular photo? I mean, as I'm looking at your page, you've got really nice pictures of your glutes. You know, you're obviously showing your curves, you're showing your body. What is it, do you think? I mean, is it the booty that gets the likes? Like, what is it?
I don't know. I think it's a tough one because, I mean, I'm not 100% sure what it is. I mean, I think it's maybe more better perceived from someone else looking in. What they first notice about your pictures can often say maybe more. But I think, honestly, it may have just been like, I just think it was luck, honestly, with those pictures, because it's no different to my other content, and I've been posting the same content over a long time. It was just luck that those few pictures did well. But yeah, I think like they were based around like physique pictures or, you know, that sort of thing. And maybe people, you know, are like, oh, wow, like if she can do that, maybe I can see what she does on her page to get like that. So it could be that.
100%.
Yeah.
And back in my day, Instagram was all like full on shredded people. Like you only saw body photos that were people shredded, they were bodybuilders. You know, you couldn't see much variation in body weight, shape, size, height, whatever. It was a very curated, perfectionistic view. And I think Instagram especially. What I love about your generation is you're just so much more body positive. You're about embracing your body, embracing your curves, embracing your shape, all of that. Do you think that's what it could be? People see her and they're like, oh my gosh, like she has curves, or, you know, she looks really strong, or she has a booty, I have a booty. And the fact you really own it.
Yeah, I definitely think that, as you said, like it's great that there's so much more like diversity with what's being shown with body types and stuff like that. And I think there has obviously been like a movement towards like, you know, embracing your curves and stuff like that. And I think potentially that could be a part of it, because, you know, it is such a big thing now that everyone's embracing. So yeah, I mean, I myself, I'm not a super lean individual. I never have been a super lean individual. I've always sort of held a bit more body fat, but, you know, still always loved being athletic and training and stuff. So yeah, I guess maybe people can resonate with that and sort of think like she's just a normal person who likes training and kind of, you know, looks a particular way that might be also how I look. If she can do that, then I can also do that. And I think it resonates with more people. And I think the more you can resonate with people on social media, I guess the more they engage with you because they see themselves in you a bit. So
100%.
Yeah.
And when I met you, that's exactly what I thought. I'm like, she's just a normal girl that loves training. But when I look at your images, I'm like, oh my God, she's like professional and has all these, you know, photos. When I look at your photos, right, do you ever feel vulnerable posting a bikini shot, or do you ever feel scared of any backlash, or your grandma seeing it? Or I'm not sure what you think and feel, but do you think a lot before you post, or do you sometimes feel scared about what you post, and do you ever regret what you post?
I think when I first started to post things that were, I guess, not controversial, but people are always opinionated, you know, about what you should show or what you shouldn't show. At the end of the day, I just had to keep reminding myself that no matter what people's opinions are on me, I'm doing this for me. I feel confident. I feel good. This is helping other people feel confident and good. So that's all that matters. But yeah, I guess as I've sort of like had more exposure, you do get more people commenting things and saying negative things about you. But that's part of it. Like I knew that was always going to be a thing. But yeah, I think that if I'm going to post something, I don't overanalyze it. I don't think about it too deeply. I know a lot of people really curate their content and make it super aesthetically pleasing, and I commend them for that, because that's a whole other form of like, you know, being a content creator and trying to, you know, make your content as great as you can. But for me, it's always just been about what I feel about in the moment. Do I feel good? Do I feel confident? Yes, I'm going to post this because it makes me feel good. And I love the response that from the community that I have on my page that I get. Like, you know, it's so nice when girls are like, you look so strong, you look so you look amazing, like you've done so well with your progress. It like kind of reinforces the idea that there's people out there that like my content, that relate to it. So everyone else's opinions are irrelevant, I guess.
Yeah. And I guess there's days where it's easier to shake off negative comments. But I think for me, and I'm very lucky, I haven't gotten a lot, but I think as well, when you start, you really get tested, especially on TikTok. When you start and you're starting to blow up, you get tested, the negatives come. And if you're caught on a bad day, it can be really hard not to bite back or not to react. Let's go to TikTok because I loved TikTok.
Yeah.
Did you blow up because of the same photos on TikTok, or was it more videos or something different?
It was videos mainly, like just jumping on trends, but it was still mainly like fitness photos and fitness content. Like it was just either me showing my progress from like a more of a cutting phase to a bulk. It was very simple content. Like it wasn't like heavily curated like gym videos or what I eat in a day or anything like that. It was literally just me showing my progress and physique and how I'd built that over time. And that's kind of actually what allowed it to sort of gain traction. But yeah, on TikTok, I did have a lot more negativity to start with, and that did bother me. You know,
what would people say? What would people comment?
Oh, just like your only personality is like your body, like you're fat, you're not even fit, like all these things that were just negative about my body. It was negative body talk constantly. It was like,
it's so bad.
You're like saying that, oh, you're like, this is someone's daughter, like how embarrassing, like all these things that were just very condescending about either how I was portraying myself, my physique, that it wasn't good enough, or that, I was, my face was bad, like all these things that were just talking down about how I looked or just anything. It was just negative. And yeah, it was
That's
just
so bad.
Yeah.
So, do you know what's interesting? I get told sometimes on TikTok, oh, you're not even a real psychologist, or should you be saying this? Is this ethical? Whatever. Yeah. That stuff doesn't bother me because I'm really confident in my skill set and I'm confident with what I say. And I know that my content's going to trigger a lot of people and potentially, people who are mentally going through something, it may trigger them. But when someone comments on my appearance, I reckon that would affect me more because it is something I was vulnerable about growing up, and it's something that continues to change. Like if it's not your arms, it's your eyelids and your wrinkles or whatever. But I honestly think comments about appearance would be the hardest for me to deal with because I've had those insecurities. And when you hear people say what you have thought in the past, that can really send you down a deep, dark spiral.
Yeah, 100%. It's pretty horrible, like for people to go out of their way to like try and tear you down. But I think initially it did get to me. I'd be like, oh, people are just saying this, and like it's not even just someone says it. Like if someone will say it, and all these people will comment like yeah, or like it or whatever. And so it's like let's all jump on the hate train. Like that seems to be a trend that's like all over TikTok. Like let's just tear this person down because they seem to be portraying themselves in a confident way. They're proud of how they look. So let's just absolutely tear them down and like.
How did it used to impact you?
I guess I just was so caught off guard by it. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting people to like have such negative and strong opinions about how I looked. Like I don't think I'd ever experienced that before until social media. And so I was kind of taken back and I was like, whoa, like this is really intense. Like I guess it was naivety. I didn't expect people to be so harsh. But then I guess just from repeated exposure, I kind of was like, hold on, like this is a trend. People are doing it either to get attention or to validate themselves. It's not a reflection of me. These people do not know me personally. They can't speak to my character or who I am as an individual. So I would just either, delete them, block them, or leave them there and just be like, whatever, I'm not looking at it because, at the end of the day, the positive comments like still outweigh the negatives that you get.
Yeah, 100%. And I think for me, if I'm having a vulnerable day or I'm not feeling okay or I'm easily activated, I try to stay away from it. Or if I'm feeling, I won't reply because you got to, like, especially with me, you got to remember you're a professional. And if people are potentially wanting to work with you or do your program and you're like, F off, what do you know, Simon 124, it just doesn't look good. So it's hard because you do just have to shut up and take it on the, on the chin. Or it's really good. You can filter comments now. So if people say the word fat or ugly, you can filter it so it doesn't show up.
Good. That's really good.
Yeah, on your page. So one thing I remind myself is, yes, people do this for a number of reasons. One, they're getting a need met.
Yeah.
Either they didn't feel enough, they didn't feel validated, or whatever, they had a bad upbringing. They're just trying to tear someone down to get some sort of need met, whether it's validation, whether it's seeing someone else upset. And the other thing I usually think of is if they're in a space to do that, they're obviously in a really bad place. Like to go out of your way and say you're fat, you're ugly, you're dumb, whatever it is, like you must be having a bad time, you know? And the third thing I do is I think, well, you know what? I'm grateful this came to me and not someone more vulnerable who's about to end their life or something bad happens. So that's how I sort of deal with it. But I imagine being in your 20s and getting this type of hate, which we wouldn't have got. We didn't have all this social media stuff to this extent back then, would be so hard.
I think it just made me realize, like, a lot of it was coming, especially on TikTok, well, Instagram as well. I don't think I've had many females comment negatively. A lot of it is like males that are commenting negatively. It's pretty much all males on my page personally. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't get any female hate, which also makes it easier to be like, okay, well, the females are, not triggered by my content. They're actually being positive, but like positive about what I'm posting. So I really, I'm not posting necessarily for these people who are coming and hating on my content. So I don't really care what they have to say in that sense. But as you said about like it coming to you instead of someone else, like it used to enrage me that I would think like, so, I've got this platform and, this video has gotten a certain amount of views and a certain amount of whatever. But what if somebody who is just starting their own page or trying to puts themselves out there and receives this? Like, that's so harmful.
Like, it's really harmful.
Yeah, it is. And it's like, I think it's easier when you know what you want to do and you know your mission and you know your values to just let it go. But, if you're sort of just testing out the waters and seeing if this is something that you want to do, putting yourself out there, feeling confident, and then someone just, says all these negative things, it's just, it's just not good at all.
And the other thing I don't want to do, I don't know if you feel this way, but I don't want to always play it safe. I don't always want to put the video or the photo that I know is going to just generate the least amount of controversy because there are some videos I've put out that are controversial, or I've done a stitch on someone else, or I've spoken about drugs and people get really triggered by that. And obviously as a psychologist, you've got to be ethical and professional, but I don't want to play it safe. I don't want to be this box person that just posts photos that are safe. And sometimes I'm happy to take the risk. I'm happy to take the risk of hate for something to go really far and do really well for the majority of it. I don't know if you feel that same way, because you could play it safe. You could just not post bikini or body shots or whatever, the type of stuff that may get more traction and hate.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with how you view it. Like, it's so much more important to be authentic to yourself and what you want to put out there. Like, otherwise, why are we doing it? Like, if it doesn't resonate with what you want to do and, who you sort of want to attract or whatever it is you want to talk about, if you can't even do that on your own page, then it's like, what's the point? So I definitely think that staying authentic to what you want to do and, as you said, taking risks and doing things that are, whatever resonates with you at the end of the day. Yes, as you said, it might generate more negative feedback, but I think also in the long term, it's like they weed themselves out and you start to get
the real
people, who actually
the people who love you and who care about you and support. And then do you know what I love? I love when your tribe steps in and if someone says a mean comment, they're like, shut up, Steph's the best. And I was like, yay, thank you.
Literally, it's like I don't even have to worry about this anymore.
Yeah, you just step back and you just get your popcorn. What about, okay, so you've had negative comments about your body. I was really shocked when I spoke to you in person that people were actually being really racist and judgmental about your relationship.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that, about having, because look, my partner is a really he's not He's a more introverted person and he supports me 100%. He's like, do your social media, I'll help you, whatever, I'll hold you. He's in some stuff, but I'm just so mindful of his privacy and I'm just so mindful that I don't want to push him into something or I don't want people to go after him. So tell us a little bit about your relationship, how it happened and how that's played a role in social media.
Yeah, so me and Theo, his name's Theo, we've been dating for almost 2 years now. So, we actually met in the gym as well. So,
that's so nice. So you can meet people in the gym.
You can, and they are good guys if you find the right one. So,
how do you, because, I always used to think, I'm not going to meet my guy at a club. That's not what my ultimate guy would be doing. But then I feel when I'm in a gym, no one talks to you and it's so awkward. Like, how did he come up to you or did you go to him or?
Yeah, so I had started in a new gym and he works there at the time because he's also a personal trainer, so that's cool. But yeah, we just sort of like, the first thing I think that he said to me is I was putting away weights and he was like, oh, just leave it, I'll put them away for you or something. So
Chivalry is not dead.
Yeah, and then on my way out, he was up the front with some people who were working there, and we just had a little, like, I don't know, I just kind of like walked out, like we just sort of were drawn to each other. It's hard to explain, but and then we just started talking, and it kind of just went from there. Like it was just a really organic way to meet someone. So, and then fast forward now. 2 years in, but like he is obviously a personal trainer, so he's within the fitness industry as well. But he is very different to me in terms of personality. Like he's super calm, super laid back, super chill. I think I'm also kind of calm, but I think I am also like sometimes like I can be a lot more fiery about certain things, especially when it comes to like somebody attacking someone that you care about or that you love. So that was hard when I sort of were putting us out there, and then you get all this really disgusting speech being said. It's worse, so much worse when it's about someone you care about. But he was just super thick-skinned about it and just said like, he's actually been really helpful with like my social media and how I view hate. He just goes, block it out, like block them, delete it, don't even look at it because they're just looking for a reaction from you. And I think he just has that view of like, don't even give them the satisfaction of replying, because at the time I was like, I want to like tell these people that they can't be saying that. This is like, you
wanted to defend him. What would they say that was so bad?
Just stuff about like, as if you guys are together, and just like perpetuating like stereotypes about interracial couples. It was literally just that, like.
So he's of African descent?
Yes, he's African descent. So, but he spent most of his life in Australia, but he originally is from Africa. So it was just horrible stuff about that, and like, two people of different color being together. It was just anything and everything that you can think of.
I thought we were so past that.
Yeah. And so did I. But I guess on TikTok, you're not just getting like an audience from a local audience or Australia, like it's from all over the world. And then it was really eye-opening to be like, wow, like this is the younger generation as well, like commenting all these hurtful things, and like, why is everyone so bothered about my relationship? So I guess from there, I've just been very mindful about, as you said, like keeping things like, not posting things that, I don't know, I think initially I'll just post things of us that make me happy, but I'm not going to go out of my way to like put him in a situation like that where it's like some people are just going to come for you no matter what. So,
or try to overcompensate or try to over-explain it. And this is the thing I've learned is sometimes you're so tempted to go in and defend, or you're tempted to explain yourself. And then I think, I don't need to explain myself to anyone. I don't need to teach you how to be a good human, because if you were, like, clearly you wouldn't write that. So that's horrible. That's awful. People would say such awful things, but it's great that he's supportive and helps you through it. And it's just, you know what it is? People want that. They want to go to the gym. They want to meet their dream partner. They want the life that you have, and they cannot believe that it's possible for them. So they find a way to hate or to criticize what you're doing to make them feel better about their own circumstances.
Definitely. Like, I think a lot of it is just like, as you said, like someone's insecure or jealous because they I don't know, they either think, oh, like as if they're in like a happy, healthy relationship and I'm not, or like as if, you know, these things have happened for them and not for me. So it's like that whole just cycle of putting out hate. But like, I just think to myself, like if they're putting that out, then they're never going to have whatever they want that they're seeking, because they're spending time putting everyone else's life.
Spending time hating and not creating.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love this. Now, just a couple of questions before we wrap up. I want to talk about body image, because I feel this is something really tricky. It's something I still sort of struggle to work with. I'm very good at getting people to have a healthy relationship with food, but body image is so fluctuating. You know, people can have a good body image day, bad body image day. Yeah. What would you say to sort of maybe girls who want to put themselves out there or want to put themselves on social media, but they think I've got a fat stomach, or I don't look good, or, you know, how can I be a PT if I don't have an amazing body? I don't know. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I think that is something like what you just said then resonates with me a little bit, because for even after training for 4 years, I still even felt like this year, even just before going on the Bali trip, like, oh my gosh, like I'm not lean right now. Like I've just come off a bulk. Like I'm not valid. In the fitness industry, I had that experience before coming away and being around all these people who were, you know,
fit,
a bit more lean and fit. Yeah. And I was like, why do you feel like that? Like their body shouldn't even be a thing that you're considering when you are reflecting on your own body. So I think just realizing, like, I think it's hard with social media because you're constantly seeing people's bodies and you're constantly seeing this, you know, overconsumption of images, and it's hard not to compare and to be critical on yourself. But at the end of the day, like if you want to do something on social media, if you want to put yourself out there, just set yourself up to feel confident, like as much as you can. Like obviously that's not always going to be the way. As you said, we all have bad body image days, but if you want to do something and if you want to put yourself out there, if you do it, you'll realize, oh, that's great. Like I could actually do that and nothing bad happened to me. And it's just sort of like exposure therapy of like, I can do the thing that scares me the most. And you gain confidence that way. Honestly, a lot of it is just about putting yourself out there and just being like, you know what, this is me. This is how I look. I'm proud of that. And I'm okay with whatever comes next. I think that's probably,
I love that. It's about accepting yourself where you're at. People are constantly waiting. When I get this body, when I do this, when I'm leaner, But
so true.
True body image acceptance and body image resilience comes from, this is my body now, and it doesn't make me any less than if I was skinnier, if I was taller, if I was whatever. It's about honoring where you are now. And I 100% agree. Even if I've gone on retreats in the past, I'm like, oh my gosh, is everyone going to be lean and skinny or whatever? So what? Not everyone can be the same body type at the same time, and we shouldn't be. And that's what I loved about you, is that you really seemed to just own who you are despite everything. And I think people would really aspire and look up to it. And what do you do on a bad body image day? How do you deal with that? Do you ever have them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm human, so definitely. I just think that, again, in the fitness industry, if like you care about health and fitness, it's so easy to just get bombarded down with all these ideals of how we should look or how soon we should achieve this. And it's so
aesthetics.
Yeah, it's kind of like suffocating almost, because everyone is so different. Everyone has different genetics. No two people are the same with how they're going to look with their body. And if I'm feeling really negative about myself, I sort of check in and I think, where has this come from? Has something like triggered me? Is it something I've seen? And most of the time it's something that you've seen from someone else. It's not you necessarily being like, for me anyways, it's usually something else that is resulting in me. Yeah.
We call this the activating event in psychology. So what activated you in the first place? And people, when they track back, it's they saw a photo or they weighed themselves or their clothes felt a little bit tighter that day. And then based on that activating event, they develop all these thoughts and beliefs. I'm fat, I've gained weight, I'm not good enough, I shouldn't be doing this. And then that leads you to feelings, which makes you feel bad and sad and uncomfortable. And then that influences your behavior, which is, say, binge eating or not posting for 3 days or whatever it is. And you're in this vicious cycle. Whereas the key, I believe, is exactly what you said. Build your awareness. What caused me to feel like this? Yeah. Know that it's going to pass. Know that just because I've seen something, I can choose how I think about that. I can choose how I move forward through this. I don't need to let this ruin my day or ruin my week.
Definitely. And it's amazing that there's that whole psychology behind it, which explains it very nicely. But I think as well, just even switching the focus of your goal, like from physical to performance-based is so liberating, because you start appreciating your body for what it can do and not just what it looks like. And there's such a limited focus on that for a lot of like women, especially, that, we'll be happy once we're this lean. We'll be happy once we gain this muscle. And it's like, you'll never be happy if you have that mindset. I mean, it's the same with social media. I'll be happy. My life will be complete once I reach this number. I'll be able to do everything I want to do. It doesn't work like that. Like, if you don't just accept yourself as you are now and sort of embrace that, then you will never be happy. So I think just checking in with yourself. Where's my focus? What is my main goal? Is it healthy? And if it's not, change it. Yeah.
Or change the way you think about it.
Yes, definitely.
Oh my God, Izzy, absolutely. You're so wise for a 23-year-old. Honestly, I think you've got so much great knowledge. And if you're not following Izzy Fitness, make sure you check her out. She is just a ball of energy, and I love, 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 love your posts. Now, tell us a little bit about your business, where people can find you, what you offer. I see you've got a podcast coming out.
Yes, very soon. So it's great to be on this one as well. Once I'm finishing graduating uni, I plan to bring out my podcast. So that'll be later this year, hopefully by December. And then that'll hopefully be available. There'll obviously be links on my page. But so essentially you can find me at Izzy Fitness. It's izzy.fitness basically.
We'll link it below.
Type that in. But I offer one-on-one coaching services, nutritional programming, and personal training essentially. So that's where you can find me.
Amazing. And before you go, if there is one thing you want the women of this podcast listening to know, what would that be?
I think the main thing that I just want people to know is that you'll just start. Just do whatever scares you. Don't wait until you think you're ready, because you'll realize that you are more ready than you ever thought you were. So do what scares you. Do what puts you out of your comfort zone, and just embrace the change that will bring you. And surprise yourself with just how much growth that will actually bring to yourself. Surprise yourself.
I love that. Just get started despite what you think and feel. Izzy, you've been absolutely amazing. Check everything out in the show notes below if you're listening. Thank you so much for being here, and all the best with finishing uni. And I can't wait to hear your podcast when it comes out.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Steph.
Thank you.